Hi, Andy XL back with another NFXL podcast with just 44 days to go to the NFL draft. This is my latest post combine update on the positional rankings, and this time I'm going to be looking at the tight ends. So, we went into the combine with Kenyon Sadiq as the clear tight end one prospect in this class, and he's come out of the combine in pretty good shape. He did run a really quick 40, for instance, for a tight end, had a solid combine elsewhere. So he's boosted his prospects even more. He's certain to be the first tight end at this stage. Um, and he's probably moved from being a mid to late round one prospect to being a mid to early round one prospect as a result of his efforts at the combine. Now, demand for tight ends certainly does not look high ahead of this draft. I would say only Denver, Philly, and Washington are the teams most in need after day one of free agency, which saw plenty of activity across the board and some at tight end too. Outside of Denver, Philly, and Washington, maybe Baltimore, Carolina, and Miami are the next tight end needy teams. Then we have the likes of Cincinnati, Cleveland, Indianapolis, Minnesota, New England, and the New York Jets, who might not be looking for their primary tight end, but might come in for a tight end from the mid rounds onwards. That makes 11 teams that could be looking to add a tight end, either via the remaining free agents or via the draft. But as I say, only two or three of them looking in round one. And of those three, Denver, Philly, and Washington, Denver and Philly are late in round one, so that's not a good spot to be looking. I doubt Sadiq's going to drop that far now after his combine efforts. And Washington at 7 may be too early. So it may actually be one of Baltimore, Carolina, and Miami, and it's actually Miami. I think have the 11th pick. I'm just going to double check on that. Yeah, they have the 11th pick. That might be best place to get Sadiq. So maybe Sadiq could be heading for the Dolphins. So 11 openings, but the remaining free agents out there include David Njoku, Dallas Goda, and Chiga Conquo. So it could reduce down to single figures available for those starting tight end positions. And, there's only four or five that I would say four or five that have got a clear shot at having a go at that, and then there's another two or three, maybe four after that that might be mid-round flyers that can turn into that. If you like, this year's Aronde Gadsden. So I've already talked about Sadiq. The group behind him, they would include Eli Stowers, who's 57 on my big board. Michael Trigg is 67. Max Clare at 81 on my big board, and Sam Roosh, who's on the climb but currently 102 on my big board. Now, those four all have a chance of getting into day two. Um, Three of them look a decent chance of being taken on day two, and Roosh is getting there. So, or Roosh or Roush, depending which way you prefer. So, there's candidates out there for teams to look at. Um, so, Stowers late round two, Trigg, Clare early mid round three, Roosh trying to get into round three. After that, the others, Justin Joly is at 118, Jack Hendry's at 122, Nate Bokerker at 136. They're the round four possibles right now. Then in round five possibilities, there's a little group of them. There's a fair group of them here. Joe Royer is 140. Cincinnati is 145 on my big board. Um, Dallin Bentley of Utah is 153 on my big board. Eli Raridon of Notre Dame is 155. Houston's Tanner Koziol is 159. Marlin Klein out of Michigan is at 164. Oscar Delp of Georgia is at 166. Josh Cuevas of Alabama at 177. So there's 32 positions between those. So, there's not a lot in it. If I were picking ones out of that group, um, Dallin Bentley's been on the rise, as is Burkirker from the earlier group. Tanner Koziol's one I've always liked. I think he could be the flyer in this year's draft. So those are the ones I'd pick out. The final one I've got in my list, who gets into my top 250 on my big board, is at 207. He's out of Ole Miss, Daquan Wright. So, as I say, round four and round five could be busy. There's plenty of candidates there competing for picks in their area of the draft. But it seems to me, that supply outweighs demand. So, unless, there are probably five or six of these that could slide down the draft into the later rounds and possibly even into undrafted free agent territory because there just isn't the demand there. So that's it as I see it for tight ends. Um, Next up will be the interior O lineman. So stay tuned for that one. See you soon.